I have the joy of announcing we're going to be looking at 4 portfolios today, aren't we, boys? This is Selma's. So Selma, again, if you didn't know this, you could submit your portfolio for these guys to look at, to check out, and to just sort of give their thoughts. Selma, give me a clap or some sort of emoji if you are here, and if you're not, we will. Selma, are you now called Maximilian Jonas? I hope so. I really hope so. It's
Could be.
2024. Could be. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is Selma's.
Yes.
All right. Now, typically, again, you're talking to me. So typically, would this be sent hard or soft copy? Would this because I'm a soft copy, I'm a hard copy kind of girl, guys. I need to feel like the really nice paper. I need to feel the weight of it. I need to feel like the gloss, see the gloss, all of those things. Is that not, that's not your world, is it?
Nah, not really.
I mean,
not in my experience anyway.
Yeah.
One of the issues with that is, so if artwork, if you want this stuff to look nice, you have to print it really on good paper, and then sending these portfolios. I mean, this is a massive portfolio, right? So it has like let's say approximately 40 pages. Printing these things on nice paper so that you can actually bundle it and physically send it. One of these portfolios will cost you, let's say, to print them nicely, let's put euros or US dollars for international comparison, will cost you like 20, let's say $10 to $20.
And Matt, I would say if you add the shipping cost, I mean, you're looking at $50 per portfolio. So if you send out 10, you're out $500.
Yeah, that was just printing, and then you have, and usually they get tossed, right? You don't get them back because companies cannot send back 500 portfolios. So I think the times of physical portfolios, I believe those are gone.
And then very quickly before I shut up, is this an active call out for portfolios? There's a job available, or should guys just be sending left, right, and center and trying their luck? And if so, who especially?
I think that boils down to your original question, Davina, where you said, why is a portfolio important, right? It's about why you are creating one as an artist, and there can be many reasons. Maybe you are looking to get hired, but also maybe you're not looking to get hired. Maybe you have a job as a 3D artist and you just want to display your work. So it all depends on what your purpose is to have one.
Okay. I'm going to shut up, and you guys, you're the experts in the room, so just maybe stream of consciousness, how you read this.
Let me actually just briefly just go over here and check whether I forgot if I have some comments on this. So there's a little bit of a comment here. So first of all, thank you so much for organizing these conferences. They really are huge. Sorry, I need to quickly read this. I know all of them. So 3 of them are still work in progress. Katana of Avatar, the last Airbender has to be finished due to a short time and portfolio upload. I added as an unfinished work because just from Berlin keychain. So it seems from what I'm seeing here, it's kind of animation and games industry. So maybe if I just continue basically on from what I see. So, I mean, I know quite a lot of different things in the 3D world, but what is an SB artist? Maybe you guys know.
Uh, storyboard art.
I was thinking storyboard, but
Contact
yeah.
and storyboard, yeah. Right, so yeah, all right. So storyboard, I would write this, right? But then, so just kind of as a first overview from my side, it would be, so let's start at the very beginning. I've done this in past, that I asked for a cover letter, right? Now, in typical applications that I see, and kind of how it traditionally has been the case, is usually you have a CV. That's what you're looking at. Then there's kind of the portfolio for creative people, but then usually companies also are asking for cover letters. Now, some people may say that this is a little bit outdated, and it's also something that is meanwhile quite easy to, let's say, tackle with a personalized letter that is AI generated. But if you're used, or for recruiters that get portfolios that are used to reading through some of those letters, they may be able to read a lot between the lines, in the sense of, hey, the style of words is too fancy. It doesn't reflect, let's say, the nature of somebody that is just entering the industry, because it sounds too bold, it sounds too expressive. So there are these things, right? But then cover letters in general, I think they are a good thing, and they don't have to be long, but it is something that I asked for, because you can read a lot of honesty between the lines. So that is obviously something that we don't have an access to, but I just wanted to basically push this out. If you see that the company is asking for a cover letter, try to send it. Because first of all, you will be one of, let's say, 3 to 5% that actually sends a cover letter, because nobody else, or a lot of people, ignore it. So that in itself is already something that puts a lot of kind of the competition behind, because you show that you're actually willing to do something that people are asking for. So that's already cool. But then, yeah, also because you don't know who will be kind of looking at the CV, it may not always be a recruiter, or somebody that is fully familiar with the terminology. So I was not sure what is SB artist. In the context, it does make sense that if it's next to concept, it is a storyboard artist. But just try to be very concise in what you actually want to say, so that it's 100% bulletproof, right? Otherwise, just from my end, and I'm handing it over in like 30 seconds. Otherwise, what I love about this is that it's well crafted. It stands out. It's not. It has a personal style, and I really love this. About the CV. And then for me, the images, there's a lot. It covers a lot of range. Now, maybe just the last thing here is, so there are certain tips that people say, that you should always kind of craft a portfolio for the specific position that you apply to, so that it's actually relevant to the company that you apply at. So if you, let's say you're applying for a job in a game studio that is searching for a environment artist, for example, right? So then sending studies of 3D characters, it does not help. So drop those out unless you have really nothing else to show. In this case here, so I'm basically looking at this, that it's just showing the full range, and so you could choose of let's say just picking the subset that is relevant and what you think is the best fitting content. But handing over to Komi and Mike.
Yeah.
You want to take it, Komi?
Okay, can just jump in quick. Yeah. So my review on the CV part, maybe Matt, you could go to the CV, would be, I think it would be good to have your CV in text format. I think Selma made a PDF of an image. So, like the URLs that she shared in the contact section, you'd have to type them out yourself. So, when you're creating your CV, just make sure everything can be selected. If you have any URL links that, it should be easy to just click and it takes me to your website or something like that. She created a portfolio with her personality on it, which is good. And so I think, in addition to your points, Matt, that's what stands out for me. For the portfolio, because the portfolio, I think what I could say is there's a lot of work here, kind of to show the various styles of art that she does. I'll try and focus on reducing the portfolio to a strong body of work of maybe 5 pages with a small write-up of what the concept was within that project and what you're trying to execute. Just keeping in mind that the people who look at portfolios also get a bunch of this stuff. And so, time could be a thing. Let's talk about the style of the portfolio. I think I'll go through the storyboard for the watch, Titoni. I think it covers the general direction really well. The only thing I would add here would be just arrows to kind of showcase, okay, the camera movements, because it's the storyboard to kind of show the style of how the commercial would be. That would help. I'm just looking at the summarized feedback on this. But generally, you can get a story, you can get how the camera movement should be, but the arrows and small descriptions would help for that. I think Matt, feel free to jump in. Sorry, Mike, feel free to jump in as well as I go around this. But I can hand over to you, and then we can just ping pong as we go.
Okay. Well, I would like to start by saying thank you to everyone who has submitted their portfolio, because after all, we are, I wouldn't say criticizing it, but we're taking a close look at it. So for everybody who sent that in, thank you so much. As far as the portfolios go, what I just mentioned is that it's very much about the purpose of your portfolio. So if you are specifically applying for a job position, like Matt mentioned before, you can kind of tailor your portfolio towards that specific job that you're looking for. What I really like about this portfolio is the summary, so the overview, of the education, the skill, and whatnot. And the reason why I like that so much is because behind every portfolio, there's a narrative, and the narrative is the story you want to tell. The portfolio that you put online or send in has the purpose of you getting a job, or you getting another job, or whatever that may be, and that should be reflected in that portfolio, right? Now, in this case, looking at the PDF file, it clearly has a summary. Who is the artist? What is the artist looking for? What is the background? What is the skill set? Number of software used, and so forth. And I think that's a really strong presence. So yeah, that's what I like about it. And then, of course, the work itself. When I look at portfolios and I see many, it often lacks a breakdown. There's many renders of the final shot, right? But where's the storyboard? Where's the mood board? What's your workflow? What does your topology look like, for example, right? All of these things tell a story. And if people are not aware of what story they want to tell, then there's a risk of missing ingredients. So the recipient of the portfolio has kind of half of the story, right? So that's what I like about this one. I think this is very strong. I wouldn't necessarily do it in a PDF format, as Kome said, right? Sometimes you are reviewing for a position and you get in a lot of portfolios, and you may have your own template where you want to kind of summarize information received by, let's say, 10 applicants. If you then have to go in and kind of type and retype a PDF, that can be somewhat cumbersome. But other than that, I think it's really good.
Agreed. Mike, was there something that maybe stood out to you when you looked at the portfolio?
Well, what I like about it most, I would say, is that it's a kind of an unusual format in my experience. I usually see ArtStation portfolios, and they all look alike, as we know, right? This is much more personal, and there is a lot of attention to workflow. If Matt was just scrolling through a section with skulls, I don't know if you can scroll up a little bit, Matt. So you see different perspectives, you see different layouts, and there's a lot that goes into presenting the final piece, right? It's kind of explaining the path towards the end result. If I'm to hire someone for a position, I not only want to see the final work, I want to understand how they work, why they work that way, what are their strong points, what are their weaker points, what is something that we can work on, and so forth. So basically the artist behind the piece.
Agreed. Yeah. I think it's always good to have, as you said, an online presence in one of these platforms, whether it's Behance or ArtStation, where you'd have the opportunity to describe the project that you're working on, and you're able to also segment things in a uniform way, as you said. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, also, what I don't see a lot is people having the guts, if you will, to explain their weaker points, right? They might be very good in a certain area, but they are eager to learn in other areas. And of course, you want your portfolio to be as strong as possible. But at the end of the day, if your portfolio ends up in an interview situation, the person interviewing you will want to know, do you have weaker points? And is this something you are willing to work on? And what do you need? And if you are honest about this in your portfolio, then the recipient knows that you are open to discuss and you're open to learn, right? Because nobody's perfect after all, right?
Totally agreed. Yes, yes.
I
I like
didn't
what
mean
you're
to come
saying
in on
is,
that. Can
sorry,
I just
yeah.
quickly ask, how would you be honest about your weaknesses on your portfolio? Is that in text? Is that like a really terrible stick figure? Like, how would you be honest about your weaknesses?
Well, sometimes I see. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Sometimes you see a massive environment, right? And it has everything. It has textures, lighting, the rendering is awesome, and so forth and so on. And then there's a tiny side note that says something like, I did the park bench, right? And that's you kind of misrepresenting yourself, because you get this whole entire scene set up. And what you could do is say, listen, I have been working on characters for the last 6 years, but I really want to get into environments. And here's a study piece that I did in my free time to get more experience. That way, you're being more honest, you're open. And in an interview, the person interviewing you knows, hey, this is a new area for you, but maybe there's some common ground that we can work on together, right? And then your portfolio becomes kind of a discussion piece. That's what it should be. Your portfolio was never a ticket through the front door. Well, maybe through the front door, but the idea is to stay there, not just a visit, right?
Yeah,
I
agreed.
absolutely agree, and I can add also a little bit of how I'm interpreting exactly those things. So, right, a company hiring is searching for a person that can help working on their project and kind of, as Mike would say, kind of working on the vision. So basically, a person that can bring in some value and produce value for the company, right? Means AKA work. Now the thing is, when you're applying to a company, you are not providing value through the images that you are showing in the portfolio. What you have to convey is the fact that you can produce value based on given inputs, or let's say based on given, let's say, a specific task. Now, what's really important here, and this goes very hand in hand with your question about how do you show weaknesses that you, Davina, mentioned. So, first of all, personal weaknesses they have to be honest. They have to be honest, but you can be honest about them and write them, for example, in the cover letter. Let's say you have weaknesses when you're switching a career path, when you did, and I've seen this many times myself, when there's let's say, software developer working kind of classic software, but then they want to switch into, let's say, games or into the creative industry. So they are humble about it, but you can give them a chance, right? And you see it already that based on the work experience. But what is really important is you can feed these things in, but the fact why a company is or what is a person that is looking at the portfolio, what they are looking for are not only is the person a good, let's say, artist, can the person draw well, or does the person have an eye for photography or whatever it is, but that the person can actually work and also problem solve. Here's the example. So if you look at Selma's profile, I mean, look at the number of languages that she's speaking. Depending on, I don't, let's see, maybe there's no specific address, right? But this is like Central Europe. This in itself, just having a person that can she can bring so many different people together. So that in itself is a massive value, right? Then the person likes to dance, likes music, likes traveling. So it's a sociable person. This is valued on the soft skill side of things. Then just another detail, I'm deviating slightly, right? But here's hospitality and workshop volunteer. That's as work experience. This is showing I don't have a lot of work experience in the sense of but I'm still trying. I'm there. I'm active. This is a go-getter. If right, if I see some of these things that maybe it was not meant to be, or the person was doing something in a different context, different work, or maybe for some time was unemployed, I do not know what the background reasons for that are. So, for example, there are many people that have gaps in their CVs, and they are ashamed to, for example, say, I was not able to work during that time because I was caring for my parents or looking after whatever it is, so I could not work. And this may be interpreted interpreted culturally differently, but these are things that I'm usually looking for. And if I see gaps, for example, in the chronological order, then this is something that I can ask. And but yeah, not everybody feels, let's say, safe to put these things into a CV. But so there are these weaknesses that make you actually human. But what I'm seeing here is there's a go-getter that is very social, that has a lot of language skills, that has a bachelor's degree in architecture. So did some education in animation. So it's a very well-versed individual. And on the images side, what I also see is that this person is bold and very flexible in the sense of not just like I'm the person. If I'm looking back onto my portfolio, I would never be able to put this image here, this tiny image here that is not 16 by 9. It is tiny next to these other images. Look at this is its separate page. And this is something that this person is not shackled by OCD, kind of that everything has to be tight and rigorous and so on. So that is something that I'm reading from these pages in the sense of finally a person that is not shackled but has a free mind to float and is bold in putting something like this in a PDF, right?
I kind of expected that Matt would say that.
I love that, and he's poetic again tonight. Yay! So I'm going to remind you that we've got 3 left. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give Selma one more chance. Selma, are you here? Because if you are, you have to put your camera on or something, please. It would be so nice to see the face behind the portfolio. But super, super well done for putting yourself out there, and thank you for submitting your portfolio. So, Matt, can we?
There are four questions. Shall I quickly read the questions?
Yeah. Why doesn't anyone ask me questions anymore?
Because let me send them to you.
No, it's okay. You go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. Okay. So there's a first comment by Graciela. So she says, comment only. An interviewer from a AAA game studio told me I was invited for an interview precisely because of my cover letter. Ta-da! Wasn't hired, but still, yes, because you're the outlier, right? It's not a cover letter is not to make people to jump through the hoops. It's another means. It's another vehicle to get a perspective from, or giving a person another chance to prove that they are the right person for the job, right? So then,
Matt?
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you mind if I add one thing to that? The whole cover letter thing. When somebody submits a portfolio, right? In my experience, the person hiring you doesn't want the work in your portfolio, right? It represents something. And Matt mentioned the value, right? Now, at the end of the day, because yesterday we were talking about AI and all that stuff, right? At the end of the day, in my opinion, the job of an artist is to help visualize a narrative. So this can be a script, it can be a storyline, it can be for a feature film, it can be whatever, but it's a story. And the person hiring is looking for somebody who has the skill set and the cultural awareness and the diversity and the creativity and all these ingredients that allows that person to translate a narrative into a visual. So that's why all these soft skills are so important. The fact that somebody speaks multiple languages, right? The fact that somebody has experience in 2D and 3D and maybe even playing music and having a contrabass or whatever, right? So there you go. So that's why I understand that the cover letter can be so important, because that's where you talk about yourself more than about your art.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
Yeah, and
just
just to add on that, I
look.
think the point. Sorry, Matt.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and also to that point, I think, Mike, when you said it's all about narrative, and how you can also show progression and where you're trying to learn,
Exactly.
would be also, like as an example, a gentleman called Beeple, how he has these everydays that he does. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's now done over 6,000 days. Every day he does something, like cinema 4D or illustration or something. So the idea is always about progression, moving forward, and just
Yep.
the narrative showing that you're always going to learn, you're always learning something every day and growing. I think that also plays a big part showing the growth mindset in everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And even just this little detail, right? It's not just skulls here. It's not just skulls. It's the what's it called? Kind of the scientific name.
Annotation.
Scientific annotation, and the kind of the what is the thing. So this is not just sketches. This has a like even the degrees. It has a scientific purpose, and that's exactly proving it's not just a creative artist. It's a technical, scientifically thinking artist. That's the proof right here. These details. They are so important. It's not just I like to sketch skulls or whatever it is. These are like the occipital bone, the lacrynal bone.
Yeah.
These
Guys,
are the details, right?
Unless one of you is going to actually offer her a job, we need to get through the next questions because we're running late, and that is my sole job. I'm sorry.
Yes. So there's the next question. Akin Busayo asked, please, how can we submit our portfolio?
Oh no! Next year, 2025.
Nice. Then Ahlam writes, I work in branding and I want to work in concept art. Do I make different portfolios depending on the position I'm applying for? Does it also apply on what I post on Behance and ArtStation example? Wants to go for that?
I think it's like Mike was saying earlier. It's all about the narrative and the position. Applying for the position. Mike, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a lot of people have multiple portfolios. They have a kind of body of work portfolio, for example, on ArtStation, and that shows their kind of history, right? What they've been doing over the last X years. But then when they apply for a job, they have a more tailored portfolio that points towards the position. And it kind of depends on how you're positioning yourself. A lot of people want to work as a specialist. So, for example, a lighting specialist. But if your portfolio is only on lighting, then you miss out on a lot of generalist jobs, right? So what I've seen is a lot of people adopt what I like to call the T model portfolio, literally like the letter T, as in they have a very broad horizontal base where they have general skills in all kinds of areas, and then they got one specialty that is the vertical, right? So they know about character modeling, they know about all these things, but they specialize in lighting. They would have a generic portfolio, let's say on ArtStation, but they would have a dedicated lighting portfolio when they are looking for a job in that specific area.
Yeah.
Great.
Next question.
Yes, please.
All right. I have screen recorded a multi-page PDF project of mine while going through its pages, so the viewer sees it almost like an automated PowerPoint presentation to showcase it via ArtStation. Would that work for someone of the projects from this? Would that work for some of the projects from this portfolio, or this is not recommended at all? So it's like screen recording multiple pages basically as a video of the portfolio per project. I would personally not do that because people sometimes like to print the actual portfolio. They may want to just go through it on a phone. They may want to look at it in front of a computer. So I think it should be presented in a way that is, let's say, flexibly consumable, basically. And videos, it's like TikTok shorts in the sense of a video as a portfolio, because it's about the details. If the important details, you would need to zoom in with a video, and that's exactly like you will never. Let's assume we're recording this portfolio here. You will never realize that the character here has two differently colored eyes. Right?
Yeah.
These are the details. This is a detail here.
None of us realized that anyway. That was just you, Matt.
Yeah. No, I'm looking for these things. If
there's the cross symmetry, Matt. The things in her hair, they're crossed towards the colors in her eyes.
Yes, right. But and it's coming here again, but it's a pattern. This is a truly passionate drawing, right? And so hire her. Next question.
Thank you so much. Are we done with questions yet, Matt?
There just one came in. Hey, I don't have a. That's by Clement. So hey, I don't have a portfolio yet, and I wouldn't want to show some work that's under NDA. Do I still go on applying for work? May be offered to do a challenge since I do have experience, or wait to finish some relevant portfolio pieces? Okay,
you want to take that?
Yeah. So I think what I understand from that is they do have work, but they can't show the work due to NDA, right? I think this is where the importance of personal projects come in. What can you do on outside the day-to-day projects at work for in your personal time to showcase maybe a particular interest you have. Maybe sometimes the stuff you're doing at work doesn't necessarily match what maybe your passion is, or maybe it does, but then you have to put it in your own. You have your own place to tell your own story and showcase your skill set. So I would encourage everyone to have a project maybe every quarter of the year where you just sit down and just have a small script and conceptualize the project from the very beginning to the execution to the very end, talk about that and post that. So just in case the projects you're working on with clients don't really, it's not that you're not able to showcase that, then you have your personal projects to speak for you. Yeah.
Brilliant.